a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Now, on this episode, we've come back to family values and how it, transcends to the large society. On this week's episode, we're going to continue, from honesty. That was where we were, particularly last week, honesty. And I have my two panelists today in the studio. Obi Brown,
yeah,
good to have you. You're trying to give me that peace sign again. And newest, I have to introduce this new panelist. We've been trying to get him to come here, but he's in our back room, just putting us together. Matthew Okwe, it's good to have you this evening.
Thank you, Onari.
And I have our main resource person, our chief resource person, Dr. Reju. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Onari.
Okay, so I'm going to let Matthew take it from here. Matthew.
All right, Dr. Reju, last week we were looking critically at the values. You expatiated on a lot of them. And I kept wondering, what about the values we learn from the church, the values we get from, say, way back in school, then social studies, they teach us about patriotism, generosity. Now, do all of this come together to, helping parents especially, build values that are, that transcends them, that will help develop the children, especially how they express themselves in the society?
Yeah, they actually work together. In fact, they are actually complementary. It's like the parents sort of initiate it because they are the ones that these children have the first contact with. Now, when you take it from the home to the church, right, for instance, you discover that the children are exposed to an authority that even the parents are submissive to, right? And then you want to put the God factor in it, to sort of reinforce that authority, because it's like you say, don't do this. The next question is, who said so? You put the personality of God behind that to sort of, put a steel in it, so it further gets grounded now that you put the spiritual, the God kind of thing in it, so that it's now, it brings that level of reverence that this is sacred. This is something I have to do in obedience to God, not just in obedience to my parents. So what the church does, sort of continue from where the parents left off. Now you spoke about school. Now, when they get to school, the things they also learn, in school, they now also have the motivation to do it because of a reward, right? Okay. Because of the reward of academic progress. And so they sort of work together. That's why, from home, it's a family. When you go to church, it is called the community of the faithful. By the time you get to school, it's another kind of family, because as I said before that most teachers, right, in those days, these are things that they take it. There is always this sort of collaboration between teachers and parents. It's still very much in our schools today, but how they function, the effectiveness is questionable, where you have parent-teachers association. That's where those kind of things come from, because there must be, like I said on this program maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, that it is not the job of a school to educate a child. It is the job of a parent. But the parent delegate that to the school, and there is what the school brings to it in terms of a reward, maybe for grade, for academic excellence and things like that. So there is a bigger reason now to be submissive to those kind of things. I mean, it's in school you learn, things like orderliness, really in the real sense of it. I mean, the secondary school where I went to, if you cross the lawn, you are in trouble, right? That's where we were, taught that you have to, learn something about lingua franca, that the language in the school is English. If you speak your vernacular, there is a kind of a punishment. So that's another phase of it. So they sort of work together. And that's what makes a rounded individual. If you listen to any kind of person who doesn't have anything to say about the parents, who doesn't have anything to say about the pastor, who doesn't have anything to say about the teacher, that person naturally will lack these family values that we're talking about.
Okay, before you go, Obi, the number to call, let me drop this for our listeners, is 081-4456-9000. And you can also drop a message on our Facebook page Answers with Dr. Reju. Obi.
Yeah. So, Dr. Reju, hearing you speak, I'm thinking about some of the values that I had, when I lived in my parents' house.
Yeah.
And how I have, in my interaction with society, with probably church, media, some of these values, I have looked at them again, and maybe I have some reason to question them, which you'll talk about that. For instance, as an Igbo guy, right? I saw my parents, for instance, go home, right? Get back to the village to start building a house.
Okay.
Even at the time that maybe we didn't have a lot, solid financial muscle.
Yeah.
But so it looked like that was a family value. It's like, or rather not a family value, but a value, of where I come from, my tribe.
You have to build.
You have to build a house
at home,
that kind of thing. But I now look at it again and I'm like, okay, is this really right? I'm not sure yet. But then I now have to pass some values down to my kids, right? Or to create my own family values.
Yeah.
So, where is that fluidity of what the kind of values we learn in our homes and the kinds of values we begin to bequeath when we have our own
Fantastic
homes, right?
Question, Obi.
Yeah.
Because values get refined with time, and values are also contextual. There's a reason why your parents want to build, like a family home. In those days, people talk about retiring back home. Those things are no longer really what it is today. If you want to go and build a house at home now, you first of all think in terms of economic, the economic significance of that. How many times do you really visit? I know, in those days, living in Lagos, most people go to their villages every Friday. Yeah, they visit home every weekend. They work in Lagos, they go home every weekend. In fact, there's a particular tribe, there's a particular, I don't want to mention, but they have this, in fact, they have a club back home where all of them, they converge every weekend. But is that still the same? Now, going home, there's really nothing wrong with that, but that's no longer the reality. But so when we are talking in terms of values, that I won't call that a value. That's just a practice.
Okay.
It's just a tradition, which many times development, civilization can make those things no longer relevant, but it doesn't still, but if I want to look at it in terms of value, I will look at it or maybe on a bigger level of, I don't want to get disconnected from my source, right? But I don't need to go there to be connected. Now, I don't need to go there. If I want to be in touch with my parents, we can Skype, we can do FaceTime, we can do all those kind of things. So I don't need to be there. We can do a lot of virtual connection. So that to me, I would not say that, because if any of my friends today now says we want to go and build a house at home, I'll say, wake up, boy. Why are you wasting the money? Why are you wasting it? Because the house gets there, you don't live there. If anybody's going to live in the house, you can't charge any meaningful rent. I remember a very funny story when, somebody died and they said they were going to bury the man inside the house, not in the cemetery. And the kids kicked against it. They said, no, because the house is in Lagos. The tradition is they want to be buried right in there inside their sitting room. The children said, no, it's going to devalue the property when they want to sell it.
Yeah.
It's going to devalue in Lagos.
In Lagos? I mean, you build a house in Ikeja, you want to put a dead body, Funny but profound.
Yeah.
Because times change. But you see, values are cherished ways of behavior, cherished ways of living that are not open to superior argument. These are values. Honesty is a value. Excellence is a value. Hard work is a value. So you cannot talk. That's just a tradition.
It's a practice.
Okay.
more
That's a
like,
practice.
yes.
Okay,
That
not a
you know,
value.
yeah. That's the way I'm going to situate that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, don't go build a house at home. It's not. It's what's the value? People will rent. They will even tell you they want to live in the house free of charge.
Free of charge.
And you so that there will be life inside it. You give it to them.
Exactly.
It's a
Okay,
waste.
let's take a short break and listen to our sponsors. We'll be back after this break.
There are cooking oils and there are cooking oils, you know. Of course, there are those that foam like soap when you put them on fire, and there are those that go to sleep after a few days. There are even those with funny odors that make neighbors wonder what's happening in your kitchen. I beg, don't kill me, oh. But then again, there is Grand Pure Soya Oil, made from pure soya seed. Grand Pure Soya Oil is cholesterol-free, which makes it ideal for the heart and health conscious. It neither foams nor fumes, neither does it congeal even at low temperature. Grand Pure Soya Oil is also endorsed by the Nigerian Heart Foundation as heart-friendly oil.
Let me go and get my own Grand Pure Soya Oil, Joe. Oil that doesn't smell or sleep.
Grand Pure Soya Oil, a heart-friendly oil you've always known.
Welcome back to the program. If you're just tuning in, this is Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified. And we're still on values and the family. Text us on 081-4456-9000. Drop a message on our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Redu. Matthew, over to you. Continue.
All right, Dr. Reju, we've been talking about values, and
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I've been wondering, we talked about modeling last week, how to pass on these values. Are there other effective ways to pass on these values aside modeling?
Yeah, aside modeling is the key. Your actions are actually louder than the things you say. Now, when there is a consistency of words and action, it's so profound. And now, apart from that modeling, you want to take it further and you want to ensure consistency. And that you don't say this today and say, because they will ask, but you said,
Yeah.
Not like
You
the
know.
English FA.
yeah. So you have to be consistent and then be persistent. Don't you ever think you are repeating it too much,
Okay.
because like Hopi was saying off air, we are, Anglicans in this family. My mother's own refrain is never forget the son of who you are, especially when you're going out. You must never blow hot and cold. The actions you took yesterday about a particular matter, because that's what integrity really is, which is a basic, family value. Integrity basically means that you are the same in every situation, so that you become now predictable. There was a time my dad was, he was like a weekend father. He comes home on Fridays, and we know the time the guy will come. When you hear the horn, it gets to a time when we go to play football. He doesn't like us playing beyond a particular time. Maybe if I'd allowed me, maybe I would have been. Maybe I'll be playing for Chelsea today. But we know the time. So I will call my brother. Look at the time we have, because he must meet everyone at home. If he doesn't meet you, you don't debate the punishment. So there must be consistency. Parents want to be known for something. If there is, in any case, there is a change, there must be a valid explanation.
Dr. Redu, I don't have kids yet, too, and I will soon. But it seems like a very hands-on, intentional state being a parent.
It's very intentional.
You can't blink an eye.
It is very, very intentional. You see, that's why I said last week that, the world that's trying to redefine all these things, they are very intentional. They are very persistent. There is a level of, because if you are not persistent, if you are not consistent, then the conviction is not on, it's not on display. There was a time in this world, even on the streets of New York, right? Gays were killed. Today they are celebrated because of they were persistent, right? They kept at it. Now they are in everybody's face. It takes that sustained effort to be able to produce something. It's not something you have to go out of yourself to do. It's just lifestyle.
But what if I don't have all those values myself, as in I grew up without them. What if I'm helpless? Do you understand?
Listen to Answers with Dr.
And
No,
I am
she's
learning.
very right.
I'm
She's very
learning,
right,
but I'm not
because-
saying it for somebody out there that is in my position, and this is the first time on the show. Keep listening to Answers with Dr. Redo.
Absolutely, because these things, we need to understand that the way forward for our society now is to go back. There's some things that worked, right? And we have changed it, and it's not working. We need to hammer this. So you're talking about those those methods we
yeah.
mentioned about, the modeling. We talked about being consistent. We talk about also being persistent, and then it gets to that point where it is not in doubt what is being said here. It's not in doubt. When that child leaves home, he keeps hearing. He keeps hearing. Because, again, like I said, I don't know if the question is going to come. We want to be mindful of the fact that these people that we are grooming, they are going to go into the larger society, because that's the whole essence of this discourse. Yeah. And when they get there, they are going to see some that corroborate what they've learned and one that are contrary. But because of the way they've learned it, they've tested it, and they've seen the result, they don't want any other.
In fact, from Onari's question, right, I'm beginning to even realize that the parents themselves have to come to a point where they benchmark what kind of values they themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you
And it
can't
also
pass
has to
on
be
what you
intentional.
really don't
You have to
understand.
It's
stop
not
on
words.
track.
Yeah.
That's why we talk about
It's not words,
modeling.
though.
Because if it's just words, you will have said something you won't know when you
You do the opposite.
you just do the opposite. You tell the child, this kind of program is not good, and then you just switch it on.
Exactly.
And you are giggling.
Exactly.
Yeah. The moment you see that, you just
Yeah.
switch it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, at this point, I just remember one of the things that I read on Twitter recently, retweeted basically by Obi Ezekwesili. She
Okay.
says, "We parents, we say that we are afraid that children are not listening to us, but we should be afraid because they are watching us."
Absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's profound.
That's what puts you on your toes. It's such a great blessing to know that you are being watched. There are many, you will not be able to muster the strength to do some things right if you are not conscious of the fact that people are watching you. If you don't know that your actions affect a larger kind of people, you just blast off. But if you know that people are watching you, then that puts a constraint on you. And every human being need a minimum level of constraint to be able to do right.
So what happens when you have modeled all this for many years, and then you now take a look at the person you're modeling it for, and the person is not following you at all?
Yeah.
It's rare. I think that would be rare.
It's rare, but it's a possibility.
But it's a possibility.
And for that, I would say that you have done all this right is not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. That person, that child, that individual will still have to come to a point where he has to choose what is learned or otherwise. But you see, another reality is that if you rebel against what you know to be right, you will suffer the consequences. It might not be that you're put in jail somewhere, but there's a jail in your mind.
Yeah.
To live with that for the rest of your life, what is so sad is how I wish I could do this differently. Had I known, is the greatest. To regret is so bad. It's something you live with for the rest of your life, because it's like a treason against your own self. You rebel against your own value. Nobody will be able to deliver you.
Okay,
Because
before-
sorry, Onari, I've seen in cases where you have kids, right? About 4 or 5 kids in the family pass through under the same kind of training, and you see all of them turn out differently.
Yeah.
So I think I agree with you, Dr. Reju. You say it really has to do with a point where the child decides himself or herself that
You
this is
cannot,
what-
it's something you can't control the outcome. But because you cannot control the outcome doesn't mean you don't do what you're supposed to. Anyone that's been well trained, it gets to a point, he does those kind of things, he practices those values, not because he heard, but because he has come to embrace it. He has internalized, he has owned it. And that's when he also can, transmit it, to other people. Yeah.
Okay. The numbers to text us on is 081-4456-9000. We have just a few minutes on the program. Who wants to go next?
I'll just ask my last question.
Okay.
Looking at the family closely, we know we do everything we can in our part to ensure that these values stay, stay put in the family. But there are other forces out there working tirelessly to ensure that, they imbibe values contrarily, to what we, uphold in the family.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, can you really bring this thing out?
Let me just add to what he's saying. All right. So you have kids, 6. You are modeling some things to them. But then you switch on TV and then you see MTV or Trace, stuff like that. So what we've always known is that you probably not switch on TV, So we have some denominations that say don't watch TV. All right. Now, and there was a time in our very first episode on family, you mentioned putting boundaries around these guys. Yeah. But we still find that sometimes, man, those forces on the outside are still trying to knock themselves in.
Don't watch TV will always be wrong. It will backfire. What you keep away from people, you arouse they get inquisitive, their curiosity. They want to see it. I tell a lot of families sometimes, bad programs might be the platform for a family devotion. Right? Let them see it. And then when they see it, it is seeing it, then you can now explain live with what is going on. You're not watching TV and you see a woman and the man want to kiss and then you switch it off. And the child will be curious.
Somebody said about always looking for teachable moments as a parent.
Absolutely. You see, I always say that today, I can tell you, I'm a very good driver. I learned highway code traveling with my dad. He taught me about highway code while we're on the road. Not because I want to get a license. I was very young. I was 12, 13. That's how I learned highway code. So we need to let them know, number one, there's a world that's different from this. There's a whole narrative out there who doesn't believe in what we are teaching you. So when you hear that, this is what you use to interpret. And then TV, it offers us a very wonderful platform to be able to, to process that. Because I remember it was a pastor who the daughter came and said that the girl went to the mom and said he wants to go to a party. The girl is 18. First time she will ever go to a party, a night party. And the mom was scared and said, okay, when your father comes back, let's you go and obtain permission. And the wife was shocked when the father said, let her go. And she said, when are you coming back? He said, well, it's going to be all night. Okay. Right? The guy left home about 10:30, came back 11:30. So I don't know that's what they are doing there. Is that what I'm going to do all night? Just dance and dance and dance? That wasn't really interesting. If they have kept her away from that party, it will still be something that she wants to discover.
This is hard not to crack.
Yeah, it will be something that she wants to discover. You see, many times parents they are not confident of what they have put in the kids. They believe what's outside is always superior, is stronger. And that's why, I tell even youth leaders, don't teach the youths under my watch peer pressure. If you want to teach them peer pressure, tell them they are the pressure, not pressure that's coming from outside. I don't want anyone I'm mentoring to go out like a wimp, as if something that's out there is stronger than what I have, but again, I must have shown that person how victorious life has been for me. The person must have been able to see it. I must. So you can't change something that you are not part of. Proximity is a prerequisite for impact. If you don't get into it, let them know the world. Let them see. Let them consume the media. Be confident in what you have put inside of them, but you must have done the modeling, the consistency, the persistence, right? And then they must be able to have seen the results. Move them to a point where they now own those things. They are not doing it because dad said so. They are doing it now because they believe that this is it. This is mine. They own it.
All right, to the listeners out there, your values will be stronger than the vices your kids will be faced with. So keep modeling it and be persistent. Dr. Redu, no true words, no pure words. You are the best. Thank you for being on on the program today. Obi Brown and Matthew Okwe. Matthew, please leave the back room. Okay, and on this series on the family, we will be talking about things on parenting, talking about things on marriage. You don't want to miss that. So keep a date with us every Friday here on Radio 93.7 Jos on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrredu.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Redu, or send us an email at answerswithdrredu@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are @Dr. Redu Answers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Redu, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified.